Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
All right. So, Alex, ladies and gentlemen, we have our guest host and all-time producer, Alex, back. Matthew was on vacation last week, or not vacation. He was on a work trip. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
he was on a work trip, and now he's just got some personal stuff going on. So Alex is back to co-host again.
Yeah, the elusive Big Dick Dan that gets mentioned every once in a while, but is never in person. So I am the Dan.
Well, just so everybody at home knows, he's wearing boxer shorts, and he did stand up earlier. So I can safely say he does not live up. He does not live up to his producer name.
Look, is grower not a shower is how my wife likes it. So we're just going to leave it at that.
So what's today's topic?
Today's topic is performative kindness, and I am excited for this because it's something that I observe and like to point out and like show people or criticize an action, especially on social media, of another person. But there are times where I don't think I'm as prepared for the conversation and the discourse on it as I was last week for our topic, which I live for anything that has to do with universal basic income. I am such a fan of that idea. But either way, performative kindness. How about we start up atop with definitions? What do you think a performative kindness or a performative kindness act is?
I think that performative kindness is to be maybe a little vague or a little wide with my definition.
We'll start that way.
Doing anything good so that other people will see you do it and think you're good.
So an outward act.
Yeah.
For others to see.
Yeah.
So
maybe an oversimplification, but yeah.
No, and I don't think it is, because as soon as I think you start to be more specific in the definition, you end up in a scenario where the definition only serves certain angles of performative kindness, and then you end up in the situation where the more specific definition can be used to possibly vindicate someone who is guilty of such, right?
Yeah.
It ends up redacting out certain parts of it that they're doing. So here's the other angle of it. And I am guilty of this, which is why I like this as a topic. I can see performative kindness being although not external for others to view, it can be a self-serving or selfish act.
Sure.
So I can be performative to say someone that I think I've wronged, and they have no idea I'm really doing it for me. I'm not there for them. I'm not really there to help, them move house or to ask them if they need something while I go to you hear me at work all the time. Going to the canteen. Do you want anything? It's just a habit. I will do anything you ask, but I totally am guilty of asking people this that I would otherwise never talk to, just so I think I've done my good thing to them. Yeah. Because I don't like them, because I don't like how they act, because I think they're rude. So I just go out of my way to be nice to them as like a little like self-serving jab, like, haha, nice, and you're never asking me if I need anything. So that's like my other side of it.
So you would, for example, if you didn't like somebody maybe at work, you would start off by like being a patron to their podcast, and then
Absolutely.
If they're like, oh, come on the podcast, you're like, well, I fucking hate this person, but I would come on the podcast.
I would.
And then they're like, well, actually, I think it'd be really cool if you were the producer on their podcast. And then you'd be like, I cannot stand this person, but this is going to make me look good.
That's a really big jump, but I think I've made it before.
Yeah. And then finally you would be like, okay, now that I am producing and their co-host is not around for a couple weeks, I'm going to try to just fill in the gap there so that they think I'm a nice person, but really I fucking hate him. Really, is that something that...
Yeah, and it almost sounds like that I would be paying for the privilege of working
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's harder than charity. I pay to be an asshole.
Yeah, it's kind of like BDSM.
It
Like
is a little, and it's
you,
funny you mention that because
it's Findom. I got you in
it's Findom.
Findom, right?
Actually, future teaser, we have a connection to someone who is a FetLife creator. And we are slowly formulating a relationship with this individual and getting the basis for a show ready so we can have a guest that is uh, on the edge of the interest community. Uh, Funny you mentioned things that I pay for and then work at. I am a shareholder at Mystic Farm and Distillery in Durham, and I just picked this shirt because I like it. But it's funny you mentioned, yeah, and then you become a patron, and then he was like, wow, I'm a shareholder at Mystic, but I love going there and volunteering my time. I always tell my wife I'm protecting our investment. But I mean,
Yeah,
I don't hate being at a distillery. It smells delicious. So that's my side.
yeah,
The part that I'm guilty of is I've done that because my seriously undiagnosed, like crushingly bad anxiety when I was all the way up until my 30s, um, I would, to try to bring balance, I would have acts of performative kindness all the time to my partners, to my family, to my friends, just because I would I would inadvertently make them so frustrated and angry with me that it was my way of like a small child going to their mom, "Mom, I'm doing all these nice things for you. I drew you this in school.
yeah,
Don't be mad at me," like that kind of thing. But I'm doing this as an adult, so I'm going out of my way and doing really unhealthy things like, oh, I'll pay for your cell phone bill this month, or no, I'll make your dinner, I'll clean your house. Like, I mean, really unnecessarily huge overture gestures,
yeah,
but it was all self-serving. Half the time they'd be like, what why are you being so nice? This is kind of weird.
yeah.
But they took
I
advantage of it.
yeah.
So who's the real loser there?
I struggle because I mean I don't think it's the exact same way you're talking about, but I find that if I and I'm super over analytical and I
You are.
am pretty bad about never giving myself the benefit of the doubt on like stuff. Like
Okay.
I am, and I'm sure that I can name like three people who would absolutely disagree with that statement. But the people who they don't know me very well. But I, one of the things that I do think about when I'm being over analytical is like, am I ever nice for the right reason? Um,
Oh.
and it comes down, it becomes kind of philosophical in that point
Ooh.
of like, in order to like be to know that you're being nice for the right reason, you almost have to like it almost has to make you suffer. You can't have any pride in it, like to know for sure you're doing it for the right reason. And I just don't know that I meet all the criteria. So I actually think I've gotten decent at just trying to be nice and not thinking about whether or not I'm nice enough.
Okay.
Because I think if I think about the quality of my niceness or kindness, which are
Yeah.
different, we've talked about. Uh, if I think about it too much, I will go down the rabbit hole of, well, like, yeah, did I, did I help this person with this because I because it was the right thing to do, or did I do it
Okay.
because I like them and I want them to like me, and I want there's that side of things. There's also the like
So, so,
uh,
so you think you committed, listen to me. You think you performed these acts to gain their approval or appreciation.
I mean, that's one example.
Okay.
There's a million, but I can always find some other. I can always pick apart my motivation. So honestly, I've tried not to do that, and I try to avoid thinking too much about it, and just try to and it doesn't mean that there aren't moments when I'm thinking about doing something. I'll give you an example. It's
Okay.
not exactly a kindness thing, but a thing that I don't that I try. I've tried pretty hard, and I think I've probably gone easy on it in the last years. Um, I try really hard as somebody whose best friend is black to not say I have a black friend. So like there's been there's been conversations that I've been in where it is a literal like it's a thing that would make sense for me to say and would fit in the context.
Yeah.
But because I don't want to be that douchebag who does that, I don't do it. And then it seems there's no context for what I'm talking about. So I've overcorrected. And that's not exactly a kindness thing. That's more like that's just an over analytical on my part kind of thing.
No, I'm going to put it in that category because you think you're doing a kindness to your black friend, and also in collateral ways, you're doing a kindness to the ethnic community by not being that prick, the white guy who says, "Well, I have black friends," because on this podcast we criticize people like that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, even when it's factually the case,
yeah,
you're refraining from saying these things, whether or not it completely fits what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think the last year or so I've been less good about that, but I think overall that's been.
Oh yeah, because you're always talking about having black friends now.
Well, most of that's so people think I'm cool.
It's not working.
I can't be cool based on my own merit. I have to be cool based on relationship to others.
So you're a white man appropriating black culture to be cool.
I do not appropriate black culture.
No, you just collect them as friends.
Collect them sounds wrong.
Oh shit!
I have black friends, and I get along. I get along well with black people from my experience. They may all have a very different experience. They may be like, that guy fucking sucks.
That guy sucks. God, we hate when he comes to the barbecue.
He's trying, but holy shit, he is terrible.
So you think there's a chance that some of them are just real charitable? They're like, Mike's coming. Oh, the nerdy white guy? All right.
Yeah, I think
as long as he brings the mac and cheese, the potato salad.
They've made it very clear they don't want my mac and cheese and my potato salad.
Why not? Because you don't make them right?
Because I'm white. We as a
you need to learn how to cook better. Jeez, they don't ask me not to bring my food.
Oh, anyway, off the race topic for a second. I just want to use that as an example. But I think that I do tend to overanalyze. So I've been trying really hard to balance the trying to do the right thing and trying to not kick myself too hard. I mean, like, I think, and it's tough because I do think we need to hold ourselves accountable, and that's a really tough thing. And we're in a society, I think, that largely has told people, like, if you're trying, it's all that matters. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, there's a lot more than trying.
It's a big part of it.
It is certainly like a factor,
but it is not the end. The end result, I mean, I'll be real, is really what matters. Right. You can try like hell, but if you've been trying like hell for 50 years, you're just going to get attaboys. Yeah. Oh, I tried to be a good husband. Are you still trying, and do they agree with you? It may be time to reevaluate your husband. Like, right.
And if there's they, then most people would argue that you're not a great husband.
Okay, true.
I mean, I'm not anti-polyamory, but I guess polygamy is illegal in most places.
It is. Yeah, it is.
So anyway,
I like my guilt from performative kindness is, of course, as I mentioned, like going out of my way to do those nice things as a selfish act to try to bring my life back to balance, because my anxiety would make me super agitated, irritated, angry. Mm-hmm. It was like the manic side of manic without the depressive side. I was always normal or way out of my head, just intense, right? Mm-hmm. And I am guilty. This is the one I will cop to. And it's trying to do a solid for a community and going out of my way to not be that guy. Like you said, I have a black friend. Like, I will go out of my way to not eat at Con Key because I don't think it's at all correct or even authentic, down to the point that even if I know that local business owner is doing great for their economy or their local and ethnic economy, I won't patronize the place because I think they're pandering to Americans. Like I'll go out of my way to eat a less well-rated, more mediocre, ethnically correct place just to say I ate there because I don't want to go to the half-ass version. So my wife has the continuous joke about it. And my brother, this is really what brought it full circle for me. My brother said, Alexander, they call me by my full name. Alexander, you're not doing a solid for the ethnic community by not eating at Conky.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh my gosh. I just, and I mean, look, I don't eat Olive Garden either. But then like my brother saying that brought it full circle for me because I started thinking, oh shit, I really do that. Like when I lived in Durham, I would go to Green Street Market instead of the regular farmers market because Green Street Market was the Latin and Hispanic market. And although things there might not be as nice, might not be as good a value, I would still go there because I felt like I was supporting, like I was doing that solid by spending my money and letting it talk. But am I just performing that for me? In other words, if I didn't shop there every weekend when I lived in Durham, which I only think I missed like 4 or 5 in the years I was there, am I really doing a benefit to anybody but myself? No. Like, I'm not bringing 50 people with me to buy my vegetables or get my tires changed. I'm one person. Like, it's selfish almost. And it was not almost, it was. And then I don't think if we're to spin this to the initial definition you gave, which I think is just as effective of one, and that was like the let me film myself giving a meal to a homeless person. Let me film myself or post about donating my time. And look, one of my least favorite and most favorite online creators of all time, Mr. Philip Burnell, known to many people as DSP. He tried to give a definition of charity as it needs to be unknown that you're doing it. Well, that's impossible because you and I recently had a work charity event where we went to a food bank and packaged food for less fortunate families. And those went to families below the poverty line. It went to families at the poverty line. It went to retired folks. It went to, like, it did not go to any one specific. This was a general food bank. And that place posted all over their social media that we were there. So DSP, you're never going to see this, but you're wrong again. You're going to have people notice your acts. Like performative kindness, I don't know. I think it's more about intention. I really think it's more about intention.
Yeah. I want to talk about very specifically what you just brought up for a second. The two charitable things that we've done at work. Mm-hmm. I have been relatively uncomfortable with the social media side of that.
I am too.
And I'm in marketing. And so so like it is
not in sales.
It's not great. It's I feel really gross.
I don't like this for you.
But here's what I've thought about, and I think that Oak City, big shout out to Oak City Cares, which I think is an amazing establishment.
I've gone back and done 2 other events just on my own there. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But Oak City Cares. So when we went to Oak City Cares, we spent what were we there? 2 hours or 3 hours?
From the time we shook our hands and walked in the door, 3.
Okay, we spent an hour to an hour and a half getting a tour and getting the explanation.
Yeah, really. That was the half of the time we were there.
And I was like, oh, I wish we could just be doing something. This feels.
I agree.
I feel guilty. And then I realized that there's a few reasons why they do that. And Oak City Cares is it's a fairly different charitable structure than like the one that we went to afterwards, which, correct me, I forget it's North Carolina, Central Carolina.
The food banks of Central and Eastern North Carolina or something. Yes, it's the largest in the state, like by size and donation volume.
Right. So that one is it's a charity that it has a fairly common structure, so that we spent a lot less time talking about all that shit with them
It's true.
because we all came in with the shorthand of like, it's a food bank. This is what we need you to do, and so there was a lot less. There was because we're handling food. There was a little bit of, this is what we need you to do. We need you to wash your hands. We need you to do this. We're gonna go over, make sure that the cans are sealed properly because we can't give people bad food. So all of the instructions were useful, functional.
Yep.
The instructions at Oak City were not directly functional, but they were useful in the fact that you and I and a bunch of people haven't shut the fuck up about Oak City because it's such an amazing, like the program's structure is
Yo,
so
this was
great.
like 6 or 8 months ago. This wasn't like last month or anything. This was
No.
This was a while ago.
And it was great. The structure's great. We learned that that other people are taking their model and using that other places, or are starting to study it to figure out how to take it and expand it, or take it and improve it, or just take it and duplicate it. And that is really important because then, like, you've gone back twice, and I've told a bunch of people about it. And so, like, that is important. And I didn't really think about that in the moment. I just felt like, oh, like, we don't need an explanation. We just need to do something good. But if we had just done if we just we packed up bags of like toothpaste and
gloves, personal care items, shampoo, hand sanitizer.
If we had packed those things and gotten no explanation, none of us would
we wouldn't still be talking about it the way we are.
We might go back, but we wouldn't be telling people about it. We wouldn't be talking about it.
No.
And so it's an important thing in that way. And when you talk about, I thought you were going to say Mr. Beast. I didn't think you were going to say DSP.
Oh, you mean North Carolina's own?
Yeah. So Mr. Beast, I think, is an interesting case of especially when you think about how he got started. And I kind of think like Mr. Beast wouldn't have the money to do what he does if he didn't use it the way he does. And so like,
yeah, his initial like model was very much the initial model that Moby, the record producer and DJ, used. Is he took money as advertiser funds just to create the album, and then in the ultimate dick move, whoever gave him the money, he donated it to an exact opposite charity. So like Shell gave him a lot of money to use his song, so he donated to a charity that's trying to fight Shell for their espionage, their dumping, their pollution issues that they've had in the Gulf of Mexico. Like, he literally gave it back. Jimmy, Mr. Beast, went out of his way to collect the money just to give it the hell away.
Yeah.
And yes, the model of social media that he works in has other revenue streams.
Yeah.
But if you just look at his charitable work, yeah, if you look at it on the surface, we're not here to criticize because I don't know enough to talk about is it legitimate or not, being that he's in the news about it. It's more just, is that performative, or is he just using his vehicle, which is YouTube specifically?
And and I agree with you. And I think that, so there's a couple factors, and I do not know enough about Mr. Beast, so I'm going to use him as a basis, but I'm not going to criticize him specifically. If, for example, he figured out a way that, if I videotape myself doing this good thing, spending $10,000 doing this good thing, I'll make $100,000, and then I'll spend that $100,000 doing a good thing. There's I'm not aware of another structure that brings in money that way to do good things. So that's fine.
There's not many that are there, but also very many of them survive outside of social media because they rely so heavily on philanthropy and donations to continue to function. Jimmy and the Mr. Beast empire has monetized the view so much and monetized the brand so much that he could continue to make every last thing he did just that much bigger, better, grandiose, touching people outside of the country, even when he did the wells in Africa. Like, this is him going out of his way just to dump money back in a place that's not even his.
Right.
So
I have no problem with that, and I think that that's a good thing. Assuming, and like I said, I don't know enough about him, but I'm sure that there's different versions of this kind of thing being done. Where there's the version where it's like, yeah, the things that some of the things he does are sensationalist. The things that I've
Yeah.
seen of his that are sensationalist don't seem like they're predatorily so.
No.
He'll bring in 100 people and 1 to 100 years old and have them, and it's like, oh, you've just done a reality show. That's fine, whatever. As opposed to if he was going up to a homeless person and being like, eat dog food for this $100 or whatever, I'd be like, okay, you're a piece of shit. Like, yes, they're getting what
Yeah.
they need money wise, but like, if you're doing something predatory or mean spirited, even if it like, I've never gotten the vibe from him, and like I
No.
said, I don't watch enough of his stuff, but I don't get the vibe from him that he's being predatory. But there is no way for him to be kind to the level he is without being performative, and I'm okay with that. It's as
Huh.
long as it's genuine kindness
Okay.
in that case. If the performativeness allows the kindness, I'm okay with it.
If it's the vehicle
If it's the
to be
vehicle,
able to have that much to donate, do,
right?
give, whatever, you're like, nah,
But
all
but
power. Okay.
the kindness is important, and making sure that the kindness is genuine kindness in that.
And that's what I had stated earlier on,
Yeah.
is that intent is more important than action to me in these scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
So Supreme Patty is another creator that I've followed for a long time, and his more recent stunts, and I use this in a very general term, uh, have nothing to do with give homeless guy lots of money. But in probably the last year or so, he would, because he lives in Florida that has a large population of less fortunate individuals, and he would just go up to one of them and give them money. They would go buy marijuana, they would smoke it together. He would go get them a haircut, they would go eat a meal, and then he'd give them more money and send them right back to where they were. Now, that last part, to the less scrupulous, sounds like he didn't do the good thing. You sent them back to where they were. Well, let's be honest. That individual is probably more comfortable back where they were than if you were to say put them up at a hotel or something, because let's be real, that's less sustainable for them after they run out of whatever kindness you just gave them, money or otherwise. But that individual, I don't see him, intent statement, I don't see Patty going out of his way to just give money to homeless folks if there's not someone filming it. I don't, because you didn't see a neutral third party saying, man, get on Twitter and say, man, I saw Patty today and he was just talking to a homeless person because he wanted to. He was
Yeah.
just trying to be nice because he wanted to, and admittedly, you and I have seen those, whether they're joke videos or not, of the individual like filming too early and saying, hey, I'm going to give you this money and I want you to act, and that makes me feel slobby gross. Like watching it, I'm like,
Yeah.
like it, and what's unfortunate is it's presumptuous on the intent of the creator, but what's worse is it's now even taking advantage of another person,
Mm-hmm.
because you know full damn well that if you haven't had fill in blank in God knows how long, and someone has that in their hand, whether it be money, shelter, food, clothing,
Yeah.
like you're not going to turn that down. And if you want to dance like a puppet for their stupid social media, you're going to do it, and you're going to laugh all the way to the bank because you just got fed. Like it's so gross because it's taking advantage of a less fortunate person, and both sides benefit, but not really in a fair and balanced way. Like that person
Right.
got one meal, example, but you just got 10,000 likes.
Right.
And sold some more of your branded merchandise or something.
Yeah.
Like that's just gross, Mike. It is
Yeah.
gross.
So back to Mr. Beast for a second.
Jimmy, you are the unfortunate topic.
No, I don't think I have anything bad to say about it. So
No,
I was
I
gonna
don't
say,
either. But it's just what a time to
so
be in the news and be on the episode and be the topic of the episode.
Mr. Beast, he makes a ton of money, and I'm sure he is living his life. But um, his model that has made work is if I make 10,000, I spend 10,000.
It is.
And then I get back 100,000, and then I spend 100,000, and I get back 1,000,000, and
that's been his model
he
for a long time.
he has
He has interviews years ago stating this. Like this is coming out now because he's under the lens. Nah, Jimmy's been like this for I'll say most of his damn career.
Yeah, and I'm sure that he has set up some, like, he's got Mr. Beast Burger, he's got other things. I'm sure he's set up some things so that if the gravy train stops, he's good.
Oh,
I'm sure. But like he also when it comes to the crazy amounts of money that we're seeing from him, he is spending them all almost or as quick as he's making them, which is another piece to me. His structure feels to me like Robin Hood Ponzi scheme. It feels like, and I'm sure that there's problems with what he does to some extent in some ways, and nobody's perfect. But like, if you make 100,000 and then spend it to make spend it and make 1,000,000 and spend it and make 10,000,000, I mean, I think eventually that caps out. I don't think eventually he's like 1,000,000,000,000, 10,000,000,000,000, 100.
No, that's crazy. I can't get it out of my head. It's a Robin Hood Ponzi scheme.
But
look, that's so good. It's so accurate too.
Yeah, but like in that process of doing that, like as long again, I think he's doing things. I don't think he's being predatory. I don't think he's being So I think that he is a good model of how to do it, and I have no problem with it. On the other hand, it still grosses me out a little bit when we went to the food bank, and not that, I mean, I get that the charities have to cater to it to get people to attend, but like all the charities have a step and repeat, and all the charities have like a social wall, and it's like, do we need that? Like that's kind of, I'm not blaming the charity for that. I'm blaming the people.
I'm not either.
I'm blaming the people. I'm blaming the fact that, like, if anything.
So okay, heard. You and I'm 41 and you're 40, right?
Will be at the end of the month. By the time this episode goes out, I'll have like 7 days left of my 30s.
I have done charity work for quite a while. My family brought me up in it, and my parents are still big believers in it, which is weird for my conservative dad. I don't remember as much of that performative stuff for these agencies and organizations until social media became the way we communicate, and for that matter, even the way we go find our news. So, for example, I bet you 10 plus years ago that there wasn't that social wall thing at the food bank.
No. And I think
I'm almost going to blame, or at least hold responsible, the social media animal for this spike in the performative kindness kind of space.
Yeah.
If you go help someone, does the world need to know? No. But if you tell the world, and your intent by telling is so more people do it, intent is pure, intent is clean.
Yeah.
If it's so that you seem like you're a good person, it's borderline. If you're doing it so they come to your website and buy your merch, you're a piece of trash. Like it's really that simple for me.
As an anti-corporatist person, I always feel like the last part. Now, our company, it's not the company doing it; it's our department basically doing it. So it's a little less of that like corporate evil thing. And as far as like when you mention you don't remember charity stuff like that, I think that individually that's probably true. Back in the day, individuals did charity for the right reason. I think that
Oh yeah.
instead of corporations having a social media wall or a step and repeat that they would go stand in front of at a charity. Instead, it would be like uh, the I'll use a company that doesn't exist anymore. The Bank Boston
Ah.
Jimmy Fund. Bank Boston presents the Jimmy Fund or whatever. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm going to see how many episodes in a row I can bring up the Jimmy Fund for only our Massachusetts listeners.
Oh, I grew up in the Northeast. I know about it.
Yeah, but so, like I think that there, it's just the nature of media has changed,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
social media has made all of us connected to media in a way that we weren't, as opposed to it used
Oh
to be
yeah.
corporations. But I think that ultimately, I agree with you
Um.
though. The idea of so George Clooney, I think it was George Clooney that said if I'm gonna have a camera on me all the time, I'm gonna take the camera to places that I want them to see. Meaning, he was going to places in Was it Darfur? That was his big one for a
Darfur,
while.
yeah.
Like, I'm going to take the cameras. I'm going to lead the cameras to a place where they can do something good and stand in front of something that they need to see. And I think that there's a legitimacy to that. I genuinely don't think that, like, if you and I were like, oh, let's go, let's do talking about the big stuff's going to go do the thing, and we're going to post a bunch of we're going to go to Oak City Cares and post a bunch of like, even though I know we don't have the following for it, but also like the idea of just a couple of guys, like everyone, I see it all the time. I see everyone in front of a fucking step and repeat on social media. And it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
went to an event and it looks like you're at a movie premiere.
Yeah.
Yay. It's and like sometimes I'm like, you want to feel glamorous. Like the step and repeats make
Uh.
something feel glamorous to me. Half the time, I don't know what you're even doing there. You don't even mention the thing. Like, it might be
That's
on the step and
true.
repeat, but you're not like doing like hashtag Oak City Cares. This was an amazing event. Blah, blah, blah. You might be like, it was
Yeah. You're right.
such an honor to be at. Like, and it's like, oh, it's all about me. An honor to be at this thing.
Yeah.
And I struggle with I feel like I've said in other contexts, here's, like I said before, when I'm extra tough on myself sometimes, I have said before on this podcast that to some extent I don't care about people's reason why they do the right thing as long as they do the right thing, and I believe that largely because I want, like for example, think about political ideology.
Do I
I
have to?
believe I believe that marriage equality is something that should exist.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck how you came to that solution,
Nope.
to that answer. As long as you get there. But I do think that in order, and that's step one though to me. It's always been step one, and
Yeah.
then let's figure out why it's the right thing eventually. Like, you want to go to Oak City Cares? Yeah, Oak City Cares is amazing, and they're doing incredible work. Now, if you get there because you're going in as, like, oh, my job, my work, everybody's going into Oak City Cares, and you learn about Oak City Cares, and you go, oh, I actually think that this is a program that they need back in my hometown, and
Mm-hmm.
I call my friend and they start figuring out how to do it in in blah 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 Massachusetts, or I go, oh, actually, because Oak City Cares had a lot of services available. You remember they had talked about all the different
Oh yeah.
services. If we then said, oh, well, actually, we could, we have a dry cleaner, we could get people dry clean suits for
Mm-hmm.
interviews. That's a big thing that have, like, then if the thing that gets you in the front door is bad, as long as it's the right front door and it gets you started, I'm okay with it. It's when at every single turn, it's like, oh, look at me at the,
Okay.
I'm spending $100 on a shrimp cocktail dinner that will go to to feed the elderly. And
So you're using that in the philanthropy kind of arena where it's individuals who are wealthy can give, so they
well
do, and then they profess about it as they're doing some good deed by eating
well
at a specific event.
I'm torn on it. Is what I'm trying to say. I guess. So like, let's say I'm worth $10 million. $10 million is a lot of money. It would change my life. It would change your life. It would change the average person's life. But what $10 million doesn't do is allow me to just change everybody's life. So if I say I have $10 million and it's allowing me to get into these places, and people, the reason I have $10 million is also coming with attention, and I say, hey, I'm going to match everything you guys do up to $100,000.
So
Or
you do it for good. That changes things.
if you're doing it, if you're compounding the good, if you're like, you can be the initial investment as long as what you're doing is sparking something else and creating some kind of growth in the right direction.
Yeah. You've probably heard me say it at work before and personally as well.
You love money. Yep.
I know I'm an absolute money slut, and I'm not shy about it. Intent matters more than action, and I'm a big believer in that. Why I'm doing something is so much more important than what I did, because oftentimes the action is a really good disguise for the motive. So if your motive to go to Oak City, no matter if you give $1 million to them, if the motive is just to self-promote, you're a little bit sleazy.
Yeah.
But you still did the good thing, so I'm not going to be so mad at you. If your company, say our competitor, went and did the food bank like we did and boxed up meals for the less fortunate right after we did, just to get under our skin because we're both trying to bid a certain company and get their favor, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's sleazy. But hey, you boxed up some food, so am I so pissed you did it? Not really. So my big thing,
there's enough bad action with bad intent that I think good action with bad intent is nullified. Like, I'd rather you be sleazy in that way than like, like I'd rather you say, oh, you bought $1 million worth of homeless meals for homeless people. I'm gonna buy 2 million. Sure. Does that motivation suck? Sure. But it's way better than, oh, you spend $1 million on homeless people. I'm gonna spend $2 million fucking over the homeless people.
Yeah.
Like,
see,
I'm gonna undo what you did. And
but
so yes,
the action's shitty, but the intent is even more shitty because you're hurting others and you're doing it to self-serve. That's why, like, for me, motive is such a big part of why I critique another's actions. So for me, if you're going to challenge yourself, and I think some of the people that went to Oak City Cares with us, that was challenging, because I will admit that I would go as far as to say that's why the tour was so long, is because there was maybe some parts of that are intended to push people a little out of their comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
And make it clear what their intents are.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I also think that, like, part of their, it's driving by a homeless person on a corner. Driving is one thing.
Yeah.
But seeing that there is this resource and that how much they're doing and how much they still can't do is a huge difference. So like, anytime you drive through Durham or Raleigh, you're gonna see probably 3 homeless people.
Easily, yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen more than 7 on a drive, like through one of those cities, but I've always seen at least 3.
And I'll tell you, we have some listeners that have probably never seen one driving around, unless they were visiting like a big major city.
Right.
So like, we're a metropolitan area where Mike and I live. We are.
Yeah, but my point being, like, so you see 3, and like three's like a little shocking. Like, you know, 3 is, I got to talk to Logan and explain, like, somebody. But going to Oak City Cares and seeing the waiting room and seeing that they have was it 15 or 20-minute intervals for the showers, and seeing
I was about to mention the showers. Yep.
And knowing that
the laundry.
That
laundry room, because we walked in and there's someone shamelessly half dressed folding their laundry, and they didn't act like a dang thing had happened. They're like, no, hey guys, man, we really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming in. And this wasn't just the employee talking. This was the fortunate individual who could do their damn laundry. Like they're
Right.
like, man, we're really glad that you were here. None of that's performative to me.
Right.
All of that is genuine
And that
care.
and that is why that tour is important, and I understand
I
that.
agree with
It
that.
didn't in the moment. It's one of those things that took a little
Yeah.
while to get. And at the moment I remember being like, why like and the other thing is that I had never volunteered anywhere before that.
Okay.
Several people at work thought that was funny, but like they were like, "Didn't you go to Catholic school?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And what I did in Catholic school when I needed to I needed service hours for
Hmm.
graduation from high school. I went and I like vacuumed at my mom's church. And sure, is that volunteering? Kind of. But like, what is the real benefit of it? You know what I mean? Like there was no but seriously, like I think like I hadn't done much, so when I got there I just didn't understand that this is how it works.
Yeah.
And I suppose the thing that felt the grossest to me was I didn't feel bad about the people that worked there. I didn't feel bad about the people that had to be there that needed their services, and I didn't feel bad about us. There was this weird other of like, this needs to be done this way to get people to help, and that's fucking gross. And I
I
get
felt
like,
that too. No, I so felt that. And I could see it on the faces of our coworkers, some of them that came with us. It was a realization that this is needed.
well, I don't mean
You know,
I don't mean the structure being needed. I mean the social media is needed to bring people.
no, no, yeah, no.
Yeah,
So the social medias need to bring them in, but for some, the fact that it even has to exist the way it does because of the underservice that's currently happening in the
yeah,
way this city handles its
right,
less fortunate, handles its challenged individuals.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
it's
And I was
you
gonna,
got to have the social. I mean, it's free advertising. Let's be honest.
no, and I get that, but I also think like when you look at something, for example, like uh, so like I said, Oak City, I think is a model that people don't know about, so I understood that part. When you look at the food bank, and I'm guilty of what I'm about to say. Uh, I knew that food banks existed. You know
Yeah,
that food banks exist. Sarah knows, and Logan to some extent knows, and you know people know that that exists, but you still need the social media to pull people in. The social media is not letting people know. It's not letting know about individuals. It's not letting people know about. But everybody knows food banks exist. Everybody knows
yeah,
soup kitchens exist.
yeah,
Everybody knows those things, but we need social media to get you motivated to go even fucking help them. And
yeah.
when I say I'm guilty of it, social media is not what changed my mind, but I've never been to one before. I went because of work.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like, so like I'm guilty of
Eh, I had volunteer hours at one of my previous jobs. Specifically, there was like time in your PTO that was for volunteer,
it.
and I spent all of it every year. And I was one of the few in my department that did. And I didn't do it just to be able to make that statement there. Oh, I did it. No one else did. I did it because I wanted to. I did it because I hoped
Sure.
by action
And I have
alone.
black friends because I like them.
Right. Well, I did it because I wanted my actions alone to be that motivator for others. Don't think for a moment there wasn't a selfish little twinge that I had when an individual said, "Man, I saw that you did yet last weekend. I want to go do that. How do you use them?" And then I was like, "You're doing it because I did." like there was some fulfillment there,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't necessarily call that performative because for me, the end result is you still burned your volunteer hours. Now,
Yeah.
did they burn them because it meant they didn't have to be at work? Yeah, maybe, but they still did it.
Yeah.
So for me, the performative, I, I don't know. I really think that I really think that the vileness for just straight gain, personal gain, is the grossest level of it. But then being aware of how I used it just to try to get back in the graces of an individual or gain an individual's approval is just as bad. It's just I'm now using it for self-serving purposes. It's still gross, man. It is, and I really believe that there are. I believe that there are times when a little bit of performance is necessary to gain optics on a needed cause, but using it for the personal gain, I think, is where the two of us align. That's where we're both like, you don't got to be that gross. You don't got to be that sleazy.
No. Okay. I have two things that are not related to the topic that I want to say, and then I think we should start signing off. But do you have any last thoughts?
No, man. No, man.
Okay, first is looking at myself. This is projecting backwards, so it looks like it says. I literally was like, "What is Jevrom? What is my Jevrom shirt?" That's the first thing. The second thing is, and you can't see this, and I'm not going to hold it up because it's the drawstring on my shorts. They got they must have done something weird in the wash, so that the cloth has come up over the plastic piece, and it looks like a little uncircumcised. Like it looks like my thing has foreskin. So.
My best friend's little boy has to get his circumcision redone. Oh wow, it does kind of look like that. I see it. Okay, yeah. My best friend's little boy. How old is he now? 15 months.
Oh.
Yeah, almost 18 months old, has to get a circumcision redone.
That sucks.
Yeah. So speaking of circumcisions, I can relate that even to me. Oh boy, man, that would suck. As a dude, I don't care if you are or not. The idea of having that redone is just.
Yep. And with that note, so you want to do the.
That wraps up today's episode, talking about the big stuff.
Yeah, you do the closing.
We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into performative kindness. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. Interact with us on our website. We love hearing from.
Sorry, I was going to say our email is talkingaboutthebigstuff@gmail.com.
Thank you. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit.
That's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. Special shout out to myself as our guest for sharing this episode and this topic with us today. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.